So Marcus Lattimore, welcome to Torn. Before we get started, I just want to take a second to just appreciate and honor you for coming on and talking to me about your journey and your story. The thousands of people that you've impacted throughout your story and just who you are as a person it's an honor to have you on. So if I can just be a small part of that, truly an honor, and I appreciate you taking the time.
Thank you, Mark. Sometimes, man, I look at that YouTube clip
Hmm.
and I glance at how many people have viewed it.
Yeah.
And I know that, yeah, that was supposed to happen.
I kind of want to start with this. So before you even went down the route of South Carolina and the injuries and kind of your story, go back a little bit and talk me through what it was like for you growing up, that passion you had for football, and then maybe kind of when you started to realize maybe football was going to be something special for you.
Yeah. So I grew up in Duncan, South Carolina, and it sits about 85 miles away from the University of South Carolina and about, I'd say, 40 miles from Clemson. My whole life, I saw two flags, a gamecock or a tiger. And my town was small, relatively small at least. And any small town in the in below the Mason-Dixon, it's all about football.
Hmm.
And ever since I wanted to be a Burns Rebel, and that was the high school. That was the main high school within my little town. And every Friday was go see your heroes at Nixon Field. For me. So we started at 7 years old. We're running the same exact system that the high school is running, that the middle school is
Yeah,
running.
just go straight
It is,
into it.
yeah, it is just a factory. But we enjoyed it. I
Hmm.
mean, again, like all we have is a bunch of acreage. That there's not too much, and a few cows.
Hmm.
But we ran, we jumped, we played, we were kids.
Hmm.
And it got organized once we got into organized sports. And when I say us, I say me, my friends and I, that, we played from 7 years old all the way up to our senior year. And, we were just having fun,
Yeah.
doing what we love. We were the little rebels,
Yeah.
in our life, the blueprint was laid out. It was simple. Uh, you play in middle school, and then you finally get to put on that Burns jersey, and
Hmm.
that was the limit of my life. If I made it to that point,
Hmm.
I mean, because my world was so small, I thought that was it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, every day was, where are we going to play? Where are we going to
Hmm.
shoot hoops, or where are we going to play football? And I grew up in this apartment complex, or Monarch Place apartments, small town called Welford, South Carolina. And, you know, we had a field right beside my apartment complex, and it had to be no more than maybe 35 yards, but there had to be at least 40 kids on that field. And then we just throw the ball up, and we played this game. We played this game called Throw 'em Up, Bust 'em Up, and
Okay.
it was basically kill the man with the ball. And I think that's where we started to like hone our toughness
Sure.
and our intensity, which is just two things that you need when you play in the game of football. Um, and we did that every day if we
Hmm.
weren't at practice. So
Sure.
my life was football. My older brother was a Burns Rebel.
Hmm.
Uh, my dad played at a neighboring school, and he went to the Shrine Bowl. So it was uncles, it was brothers, it was dad,
Everybody.
it was a family affair.
Yeah. Yeah. Was it always South Carolina for you?
To be honest with you, Mark, I was not a fan of either school.
Yeah.
I was a fan of players. It was thrown in our face very early, like the Tiger Gamecock religion is kind of etched into every part of reality. So
Hmm.
I saw it all the time, but I was more just a fan of players on the team
Yeah.
or, and who was on TV at that time for me, was big time for me was LSU in
Okay.
Alabama.
Sure.
So I would just watch their running game. I just love watching running backs in
Hmm.
general. So not necessarily a
Okay.
fan
Okay.
or but always kept up to date with what was going on in
Sure.
Columbia for sure.
Sure. Okay, so talk me through this. So we will kind of transition into you're at South Carolina, fantastic freshman year there. Once you get to that, it was October, Mississippi State, talk me through that game, and then, we'll talk about kind of leading into that injury on that first ACL tear you had. Kind of go through that process for me.
Yeah. So going into that game, I mean, I was maybe top five in the Heisman rankings,
Mm-hmm.
top 10, top five, top 10 in the Heisman rankings. I'm having the best year of my career. A few weeks previously, I ran for 246 yards, and I'm feeling the best that I've ever
Mm-hmm.
felt. I'd never played at Starkville, which is a very hostile, tough place to play. And it was a tough sledding throughout that whole game. I mean, it was a
Mm-hmm.
tight game. They had a good defense.
Mm-hmm.
And they just, I mean, they got guys from Mississippi, who are
Mm-hmm.
just bred in Mississippi, so that was tough. But we still, going into the fourth quarter, had the lead, and it was about 9 minutes left, I believe, and I was outside, split out as a receiver on this particular play, blocking for Bruce Ellington, who was taking a direct snap as a receiver.
Mm-hmm.
And we were running an outside sweep. And, my job was just to cover up my man, cover up the cornerback. And, that's what I tried to do. And Bruce was running right in between the hole that me and the outside receivers were creating. And the guy that was chasing Bruce uh, ran into the back of my left leg. And I had never felt that type of pain before. So, and I actually heard it. It was just like, it's almost like my ear, like sonically
Mm-hmm.
tuned to like the inside of my body. And I could hear the crack or tear. Like I heard it tear,
Mm-hmm.
but I didn't know what that was.
Sure.
So, but I knew it was a lot of pain.
And something was wrong.
Something was wrong.
Yeah.
Something was wrong because I'd never felt that, and I couldn't bounce back up. That's what got me. I
Yeah.
just couldn't bounce back up from that
Yep.
one.
Yep. So what ended up happening in that injury? So what was kind of the next stages? You probably went back, team docs, things like that. They do the MRI. What did it show?
It shown that I had a torn ACL and MCL,
MCL. Okay.
and so still I had no frame of reference for that.
Sure. Yeah.
I had obviously heard that before, and I knew it was a long, extended rehabilitation
Mm-hmm.
just from what I've seen around my teammates and in high school. I had a friend in high school who tore his ACL twice. And I knew that wasn't a good thing, but I mean, he was still back out there 6 months with the brace on and he was moving okay,
Yeah.
so,
Sure.
but I didn't ask too many questions. I
Mm-hmm.
just, it's not going to be me,
Yeah. Yeah.
So I mean that was my whole idea throughout my whole high school years. That's not going to be me, and
Sure.
then it was me.
It was you.
Um,
Was that
so
one of the first real pieces of adversity that you went through as an athlete?
up until that point in my life, I couldn't have wrote a better script
Yeah.
of how I wanted my athletic career to go.
Mm-hmm.
Up until that point, like it was just everything was happening how I envisioned it.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm gonna have a great freshman year. I'm gonna have a great sophomore year. have a great junior, then go to the NFL and be first round.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was the moment where I was just like, oh, okay, change your plans,
Mm-hmm.
change your
Mm-hmm.
plans. No, and yeah, not me. This can't be me. This can't be
Yeah.
me.
Yeah. So that's what you were thinking right away. It was just why is
Yeah,
yeah, this isn't what's supposed to be there.
this ain't it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Talk me through that initial recovery process. So you had the surgery, the ACL, MCL. Maybe give me a little bit of a perspective of you're in college, so you're obviously working with some higher level specialists and PTs and obviously your surgeon, and strength and conditioning coaches. Give me a good idea of kind of what that day to day looked like from a rehab process.
Yeah. Yeah, I have to give so much gratitude and thanks to that entire team that you just
Hmm.
laid out, because I was surrounded by experts
Yeah.
and professionals in what they do.
Hmm.
Uh, so, I mean, it was maybe a team of six people, just as you mentioned, who,
Hmm.
we sat at a round table and said, this is the plan, so, it felt good to have some type of structure again,
Yeah. Absolutely.
but pre-surgery, they wanted me to continue to keep my strength up.
Hmm.
So I continued to do calf raises and
Sure.
um, you know, knee knee hugs and knee shrug, like just
Hmm.
anything that connected, any muscle that connected to the knee, I was strengthening
Yep.
up until surgery, which was 4 weeks away after that injury. And then I had the surgery
Hmm.
and I realized why they wanted me to keep the strength up because when I
Yeah.
came out, my leg just looked like jello.
Hmm. Too thick.
And, it was demoralizing,
Hmm.
quite frankly, because I mean, a few years back, I just set the squat record at my high school. I'm wrapping up my knees and I'm going down with 465 pounds with 3 reps. So and then I get to this point and I look at my quad muscle. My quad muscle is just it's
Hmm.
shriveled. It's nothing,
Yeah. Atrophied.
atrophy, and I couldn't raise it
Hmm.
after the surgery. I could not raise my leg, um, but you know, maybe by day 4.
Okay.
Uh, I was able to squeeze
Hmm.
quad, straighten out my leg, and raise it.
Hmm.
So that was a glimpse of hope throughout
Yeah.
that first week.
Yeah. It's
Um,
those little milestones that just give you like that little glimmer of what's the next step, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
but at first I was just like, man, how? Looking at my right quad and then looking at my left quad, I'm just,
Yeah.
how in the hell am I going to get through this?
Right.
How?
Right.
But yeah, we just slowly but surely added on more movements. It was
Hmm.
just, okay, now I raise it, okay, and now I can stand on 2 feet.
Sure.
And then now I can, maybe walk and work on my gait.
Hmm.
Then I started to shift my more of my weight to the left and hold on to the table and go down into a quarter squat.
Sure.
And I just started building,
Yeah.
building,
Just.
building.
Hmm.
And because of the world class, rehabilitation center that we have at the University of South Carolina, we have a underwater treadmill.
Hmm.
So they were able to crank up the speed, and I'm jogging underwater.
Hmm.
So I mean, that felt good.
Yeah.
But I think more than anything, Mark, I remember my head athletic trainer, Clint Haggard, really emphasizing the things off the field.
Yeah.
Like I didn't like fish oil, something as simple as taking fish
Sure.
oil.
Yeah.
That
Dietary
became
supplement.
a
Yeah.
yeah, that became a mainstay within my diet, and
Hmm.
eating more fruit and really looking at how many hours of sleep that I'm getting. Um, and just making sure that I'm icing 2 to 3 times a day.
Mm-hmm.
Like just all of these things that I had to do myself, that
Right.
I had to take personal responsibility for when I was not in the training room, which
Right.
was still every day, but it was, an hour and a half
Sure.
to 2 hours. That kind of woke me up to my personal wellness
Yeah.
and
Great
how
point.
that's going to play a part in my recovery.
Yeah. I say this to my athletes as well. The strength will always generally come back, whether it's, at the 9 to 12 month point or it's later, maybe a little bit earlier. It's all those little intangible things that you mentioned. And I say this from the standpoint of, ACL it kind of tests you from all those other aspects of your life, right? It's not just strength. There's, the psychological stuff that plays such a massive role with that we'll get into. It's the diet, it's sleep, it's all those other little things that I tend to hear athletes say, and even, pros like yourself, is I learned to be a much better athlete after I got through my ACL reconstruction from
Yeah.
all those. You look at like a guy like Tom Brady after his ACL, you'd see what his regimen was beforehand, and then it just skyrocketed to where he, had this different level of perspective after his injury. So I 100% agree. I think that's such an important part is just all those intangibles. And probably to you is just even though you had access to the highest level of rehabilitation specialist, there's still a lot of accountability that you have to kind of fill in from your side too.
And I think that part is what made the difference for me
Yeah.
because I really took heed to what they were saying.
Yeah.
I really wanted to be back out on the field. Hell, it was the first time in my life where I wasn't walking or
Mm-hmm.
running, or it was the first time in my life I wasn't moving my body.
Yeah.
And it was tough.
Yeah.
It was really tough. And I really wanted to walk and jog and run and be able to cut again and
Yeah.
do, play the game that I love.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so I really took heed to that. And just being an athlete, I mean, just human beings in general, we like to be told what to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And
Good point.
I had a clear plan and I had clear structure and I was just like, let me follow this. Did I fall off? I mean, absolutely. When I got frustrated,
Yeah.
when it was going slow,
Yeah.
like I'm sick of, doing squats. I'm ready to jump.
Yeah.
So I mean, I'm ready to do some plyometrics. Like,
Yep.
there were times where I get frustrated, but um, luckily I did have a good team around me.
Did you feel ready to go back once you got to that junior year season, that first game? Did you feel prepared for that? Was there anything that you still felt I'm a little bit hesitant with this, from, you know, physically, psychologically hesitating with cutting, any of that stuff that kind of came about?
I think the thing I was holding on to, Mark, is that I wanted my knee to feel exactly how it felt pre-injury.
Yeah.
Like I was holding on to the fact, like, why is it not the same?
Yeah.
Um, I felt like I was at a place where I was strong enough and I was making sharp cuts in practice, in rehab. But confidence wise, because my knee was not the same and it was never going to be the same again,
Mm-hmm.
uh, there was hesitation for sure.
Yeah.
There was hesitation in practice. Um, there was a lot of fear going into that first game against Vanderbilt in 2012.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I was holding on to that. I couldn't accept that my knee will never feel the same again. Uh, and I remember after the first carry against Vanderbilt
Mm-hmm.
in 2012, I fumbled. I fumbled the first time I got into the game. And that was simply off of fear.
Sure.
I went back to the sideline. Dr. Guy, our head orthopedic surgeon, like tunnel visioned me and looked me straight in the eye. He said, your knee is healed. Your knee is fine. I think that's when I let it go. I
Okay.
think I let go of the fact that my knee's not going to be the same, but I'm okay.
Sure.
Like the anatomy, the structure, and how it feels.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm okay, and I'm still able to cut. And then the next time we got out there, the first play I got the ball, I scored a 37-yard touchdown.
That's amazing.
So
That's
I
amazing.
mean, it was all mental.
Yeah. Yeah.
After that first injury, and once I got over that, I felt myself progressing confidence wise every game.
Every game, every down, every play, yeah.
Every down, every play,
Yeah.
every time I got hit on it and I
Yeah.
bounced back up,
Right.
I just realized like, oh, okay,
Yep.
I'm
There's
good.
a huge part of the rehab process that we try and get to the point where, that transition period between like the clinic and practice into a game setting is as, fluid as possible.
Yeah,
And we try and get to the point, and you probably heard this from your specialist too, is you try and get to the point where you go back into a game without even thinking about what just happened the last 12 months, right? And that's
right.
such a like, you said it. It's a lot of it just comes with, let's just get that first game out of the way,
Yeah,
and then just building on top of that. But it's such a hard transition period, especially with a game like football, where you can only do so much in practice, and then it comes time to the game setting, you have, 50,000 fans in the stadium. There's just a different level of, intensity to that.
no, oh my goodness, it's hard to replicate that in
Absolutely.
practice too. They try to do the crowd noise. When you're when you're going to an away stadium, but until you're in Baton Rouge,
Yeah.
Louisiana at night with 90,000 people,
You
there's
don't.
nothing you can really do. And until you get hit, I wasn't getting hit in practice.
Right.
Coach Spurrier just wouldn't let me get hit
Right.
in practice until I got hit and bounced back up. I didn't know, but
Yeah.
yeah, it was after that it became a smoother transition.
Sure. So you had a handful of games underneath your belt, kind of leading into that second injury. Talk me through. You said you kind of felt like things were becoming a little bit more automatic. Maybe talk me through like what you felt leading into that game against Tennessee, and kind of your mindset going into that game.
I'll take you back 2 weeks before that
Yeah.
against LSU. I mean, my body was beat up.
Mm-hmm.
Not around the knee, but just body in itself after going through like a grueling SEC schedule. I mean, I think we had Kentucky, LSU, and Florida back to back to back, and then
Oh
we
my
go to, and
gosh.
then we play Tennessee.
Yeah.
So my body was hurting. I didn't play much that Florida game, but going into Tennessee, I knew that I would play. Heck, I mean, it's Tennessee, and it's a SEC rival, and we win this game. We position ourselves again to play in another SEC championship. So,
Yeah.
um, but something about I think this is like where the spiritual and metaphysical side of things come into it. Like something was downloading inside of me that
Mm-hmm.
um, it just wasn't sit. Something wasn't sitting right the night
Hmm.
before.
Hmm.
I'd been named team captain. And, intuitively, I spoke out the team. The words came out my mouth go out there and play every play like it's your last because it might be your last. I don't know why I said that,
Hmm.
but it came out. But I mean, still, I was ready to play.
Yeah.
I was excited to play. And heck, I had some really good runs before that fateful play.
Sure.
Um, and my mind was fine. My mindset was fine, but yeah, it was the second quarter. It was about 4 minutes left. I think it was maybe second down, and we were running a gap scheme play, which is just you just pull the left guard, and
Mm-hmm.
you know on this particular play, you're supposed to follow the guard who's pulling. Our running back coach would always tell us our reads. Now, I mean, this is just for the football nerds. It's A gap to B gap to bounce to backside. So that those are progressions on that particular power play, power right.
Hmm.
And I took the fourth option. I didn't follow the guard. I didn't go A gap, B gap, or bounce. I bounced it backside. And when I took it backside, I mean, I saw a lane and I hit it. And maybe there's just something inside of our body that tells us, that alerts us that something is very, very, very wrong. Because I don't even remember dropping the ball. The ball just, I don't remember, I didn't know that I fumbled on that play. I just dropped the
Hmm.
ball because something was out of place. And I instinctively, with both hands, grabbed my leg
Hmm.
because something was dangling below my knee, or something was dangling below my knee. So I grabbed it, and um, I'll never forget. Like, I mean, there was no pain. It was nothing. It just felt like a lacrosse ball was on the outside of my knee. That's all it felt like. And I just had to put that lacrosse ball back into place. So first instinct was like, okay, maybe I just need to put it, maybe I just need to put this
Yeah. Yeah.
this this knee cap back into place.
Yeah. Just a patellar dislocation.
Yeah, yeah, like it's just dislocated. And
Hmm.
if I just do that, maybe it's fine. But I mean, that was far from the truth. Um, yeah, I didn't know what was going on.
Yeah. Lost a
Um,
little bit.
Lost. And Clint Haggard, head athletic trainer, Rachel Sharp, assistant athletic trainer, they both run out there. I see my teammates waving like uh, really fast. They obviously knew this was an emergency as well.
Hmm.
And the stadium. I remember the stadium just being. I mean, there's 83,000 people that sit in Williams-Brice Stadium, and it was just complete silence. It felt like you were at a vigil,
Hmm.
and you were just waiting on the speaker to walk up on the stage or something.
Hmm.
Like, it was so silent that I could hear everything. It maybe just like a little bit of chatter, but it was dead silence. And um, I looked up into my trainer's eyes, Clint Haggard, and I'm panicking at this point because it is silent.
Hmm.
Um, and I just asked him, "Am I done?" I kept saying, "Am I done? Am I done? Am I done? Am I done?" And he just gave me like the most solemn but compassionate head nod you could give someone in that situation. It was just like,
Hmm.
um, just yeah. And that's when I knew this might be it. I knew on the field that might be the last time I ever touch a football again.
Hmm.
Um, and yeah, it was just complete chaos internally, like roaring in tears.
Yeah. Isn't that
Somebody
isn't that interesting how quiet it was outside of your head from the stadium and everyone else, and then you have all that stuff going on inside your head?
mm, mm, mm. Yeah, yeah, it's synonymous to how life is sometimes, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah.
You could be in a room full of people and just feel completely lonely. And
Absolutely.
or just put a smile on your face, but nobody knows what's going on. Like,
Right.
yeah, that moment was awful. It was awful. They brought all the necessary gear out,
Mm-hmm.
and I couldn't. I knew I couldn't walk. I didn't even try.
Yeah.
A couple people helped me up. Got on the gator, put a towel on my head, and cried. Just cried and cried and cried.
Yeah. I mean,
Well,
even yeah, it was so you could tell, that was much different than that first time around.
it was, and the interesting thing about it, I still didn't have any pain.
Right.
There was no pain with this one.
Right. Which adds
Um,
to kind of like the eeriness of it, right?
yeah, exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. Like the pain didn't even start until I got into the ambulance, and it was such a slow build. It was
Sure.
like you turn you turn the stove on low, and then you just
Yeah.
slowly start to build it up, and then the pain was just unbearable once I got to the hospital.
Oh man.
It was very
Yeah,
interesting.
what was that like? What was that like in the hospital? As things kind of start, you had more pain. You probably had, leading into like an MRI, family. Did you have teammates come and see you and things like that as well?
Yeah, it
Yeah.
was when I first got there. I think the first thing they had to do was run a test
Mm-hmm.
to make sure that I did not have any nerve damage.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the first thing they did. And once that was confirmed, that it wasn't, um, it was just a lot of information that just kind of felt like blah 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 blah. I couldn't hear anything
Yeah.
in that moment because I'm just still. I think my body and my mind is just still in shock.
Yeah. Just separated.
Yeah, so yeah, that's what it feels like. It just feels like I'm watching this happen versus it's
Yeah.
happening to me.
Right.
I just have this vantage point, like in the hospital room where I'm just looking down on it, but I can't really say anything or hear anything.
Mm-hmm.
It
Sure.
all sounds like mush.
Mm-hmm.
And then, maybe I come back to reality when the coaches and my offensive linemen start walking in and defense players start walking in. And one of my offensive linemen, he sat with me for like 3 hours, you
Mm-hmm.
know. So those bonds that you build, and hell, they seen me go through the rehab and come back
Everything.
and work
Yeah.
hard, so I mean, they were feeling just as much pain as I was. It
Yeah.
felt like.
Right.
So it affected um, a lot of people close to me. Everybody was very sad.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody was grieving in that moment with me.
Yeah. I mean, it wasn't, and you're probably doing that a little bit of an understatement. It wasn't just, you and your family and your team. That was the entire country,
Yeah,
you know? Um,
yeah.
Talk me through. So, what was the diagnosis with that particular injury? The specifics of that one.
It was a torn ACL, PCL, LCL, calf muscle, and hamstring.
Mm-hmm. So you had no nerve damage or arterial damage or anything like that.
I had no nerve damage.
Okay.
And Mark, if I'm being completely honest with you, I might be missing one small thing, one small piece of that injury. But AC, those three ligaments with my calf muscle and hamstring, I know for certain.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and there was a lot of discussion. When something like that happens, I'm there's so many people around me that have speculations. about what happened. My orthopedic surgeon, obviously, he knows exactly what happened, but I'm hearing so many different things about my knee that even to this day, I may not know the full extent of the injury.
Hmm. Interesting.
It was just so noisy around that time in my life,
Yeah.
but I'm 99% sure it was those three ligaments and those torn muscles.
Okay. Okay. Man, oh man. So you had did you have Dr. Andrews down there in down south as your surgeon? Okay.
Dr. Kane and Dr. Andrews
Okay.
both. Dr. Kane is the was the head orthopedic surgeon at the University of Alabama,
Yep.
and Dr. Andrews as well.
Okay.
So
Okay.
I went down to Birmingham to have the surgery.
Got it. How soon after the injury did you have that surgery? So you said a month or so roughly from that first time. What was the right side time frame?
It was it was 5 weeks.
Okay. Okay. So you did a little bit of
Yeah.
some
So I
work before you got into the operating room.
they they, they wanted me to be able to just do some strengthening exercises.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Range of motion,
Um,
get the knee moving a little bit.
yeah, just get
Yeah.
some fluidity in it.
Sure.
Um, but there wasn't much that I could do
Yeah.
um, after that one. And I remember waking up from surgery after that one, and um, although they do give you some medication to help with pain, I mean, it was
Crucial. Yeah.
yeah, that was
Yeah.
unbelievably painful.
Yeah. Um, what's the next steps after that? I mean, I'm thinking just in my eyes, I would be, was there a time you looked at Dr. Andrews and said like, am I going to get back from this? Or, what were those initial thoughts going through your head of, should I go after this and rehab and see if I can come back? Or I'm sure there's probably a million things going through your mind at that time.
Well, the thing about me, Mark, I'm usually going to take on the energy of the group.
Okay.
Particularly during that
Yeah.
time period in my life where I wasn't, I wouldn't say that I was as self-aware as I am today,
Hmm.
but everybody around me is optimistic. Everybody around me is positive and hopeful.
Hmm.
And I mean, hell, I guess what else can you be in that moment?
Yeah, that's a good point.
Like I mean, it's if they're positive, if they're hopeful, if they think I can do this, well, hell, maybe I can do it.
Was there some naivety to that? Like you almost wanted to kind of not think about the other side and just kind of go along with what everyone was saying? Or did you know what I mean? Like in the back of your mind, were you still thinking like, yeah, people are saying I can get back, but can I? Like this is such a big injury and complexity of the surgery and all these things. Like I'm sure that was probably maybe deep down in the back of your mind or in your heart. Is that fair?
To even think about the other option was to accept defeat.
Yeah, fair enough.
Uh, was it there? It was absolutely there, but it was
Yeah.
a very small voice.
Okay. Interesting.
Every o- every other voice was, "Oh, this is going to be the greatest comeback story in athletic history."
Sure.
And everybody thought that.
Yeah.
So if everybody thinks that, that's how I'm thinking.
Okay.
But there was a very, very, very small voice that said, "You're done." But it didn't say it in that voice didn't speak in
Like demonstrative way.
yeah, it wasn't
Yeah.
demonstrative and it wasn't belittling. It was just, "You're done."
Sure. You're outside of surgery, maybe leading into, so you had, 5 weeks later, so maybe the end of November. Is that fair? Something like
Yes.
that. Um, Talk me through like those next 4 months because I know you did a little bit at the pro day. Kind of maybe talk through those like 4, 5, 6 months leading up to that point.
Yeah. So as a family, we decided that it would be best that I declare for the NFL draft
Yeah.
to salvage a dream,
Mm-hmm.
potentially live out, something that I've always wanted to do,
Mm-hmm.
and that's play in the NFL.
Yep.
So I declared a week after surgery, declared for the NFL draft. I had an agent that still stuck with me. It's amazing how many agents were were with me before that injury. Before that injury, I mean, I could have had my pick of agents.
Yeah. Anybody.
Anybody. But after that injury, I mean, it was absolute crickets, except maybe maybe three or four agents,
Yeah.
and there was one named Michael Barrett out of Atlanta
Okay.
who still stuck with me, and still to this day we talk, and we actually joke about that. But
That is great.
yeah, we he suggested that I go down to the Dr. Andrews Institute in Pensacola, Florida. So
Mm-hmm.
that's where I spent from right after Christmas until a week before pro day.
Mm.
And that was January, February. I mean, yeah, that was close to, 4 months.
Yeah.
Um,
Sure.
and, I'm down there with the best of the best,
Sure.
in the room with Robert Griffin, the third,
Mm-hmm.
um, after his ACL.
Yeah, it was kind of the same time
Uh,
frame, wasn't it?
yeah,
Yeah.
Rajon Rondo, for the
Yeah.
Boston Celtics. I'm sitting beside him. Uh,
That's got to be a
I
little
mean,
interesting too, I'm sure.
yeah, Sam Bradford. I mean, he walks in the
Yeah.
room. I mean, it's
That's a
just like
big group of guys.
all these different guys
Mm-hmm.
going through the same thing, and quite frankly, that's what we're bonding over. But I mean, it
Yeah.
was rehab twice a day. I really couldn't do much in the weight room besides some upper body exercises.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, heck, it was business as usual. We have a goal in mind. I have some structure in mind, and that's
Mm-hmm.
to maybe do a little something at Pro Day. And that was the goal, to do something
Yeah.
at Pro Day, do
Start
something.
start there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So rehab twice a day. Um, and I start that process all over again on the right side. And it's just,
Yeah.
how can I get to 90 degrees in this flexion? How can I get to 120?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then how can I straighten it all the way out? And you just go through those baby steps over and over again until I get to a point where I'm walking backwards on the treadmill on an incline.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of that was the moment, like, oh, okay, maybe
I can get
there
somewhere.
is an opportunity.
Yeah.
It
Sure.
was that glimmer of hope for me,
Sure.
walking backwards on the treadmill and seeing my quad fire up.
Sure.
Um, that
S-
I held on to that win.
Yeah. Did you have obviously the complexity of the second surgery and injury is much different. Aside from the strength, were there any other complications that you had, whether it was like range of motion or just pain continued to be like a limiting factor for you throughout that the recovery process of your second time around?
Yeah, it was because a lot of work had been done on the outside of my knee.
Yep.
There was I was very limited in what I could do, strength, like strength wise, like a lateral squat. That just
Yeah, all
wasn't
that
something that was
outside's yeah,
possible.
sure.
Um, and the pain was that's the only thing about it. The pain was consistent.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, up until that point, to the day I retired, I mean, it was just painful,
It was pain. Yeah.
to really do anything.
Yeah.
And that was just the only thing that was consistent. But as far as the rehab, um, there were I can't recall anything unique,
Okay.
from the left side to the right side besides doing the lateral movements.
Sure. Okay.
Um, I had to stay away from that. I had to just, go backwards and go forward.
Yeah, sagittal plane, everything forward, backward.
That's it.
Yeah.
So I
Okay.
stayed on that plane and strengthened from that plane and was able to get to a point where, I'm holding the kettlebell and I'm holding a 40-pound kettlebell and I'm going up and down, with good ease.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and that was, you know, some of the exercises that we showcased at the pro day were kettlebell centered. I was able to do some footwork patterns
Okay.
on a hurdle, and NFL scouts were able to see my footwork was still quick, and quite frankly, a lot of that was just off of adrenaline. Um,
Yeah,
I mean,
probably.
I got 60 NFL scouts around me.
Yeah.
I'm coming from a deeper place in that moment.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So when I look back on it, I'm just like, I look at that film from that pro day. It's just like, wow, I really was moving quick, and I can see how people would say, oh yeah, he's going to be back within
Mm-hmm.
9 months.
So leading into, the would have been a bit April probably, right? Into the draft.
Yes,
You get taken by the Niners fourth round. What
yes,
was that? What was your mindset going into that? Was that I'm always curious about how, people's mindset and their reaction to things. Was that relief? Was it, maybe like some hesitancy? Was it like, oh shoot, what now? Type thing? Like
yeah.
talk me through what you're feeling in that moment.
A little bit of a combination of everything that you just
Okay.
said.
Okay.
I'm going back to that moment and I'm trying to be as completely honest as I can. It
Yeah.
was all of that.
Okay.
It was, oh, shoot. Um, there's hope.
Yeah.
I can do this. I will do this. And then there's, oh, shoot, they don't know how I really feel.
Right.
Coach
Right.
Harbaugh doesn't know how I really feel inside at this moment.
Yeah.
And then damn, there's a part of me is like, damn, I'm going to let them down.
Sure.
I mean and that's just the God honest truth.
Yeah.
But again, the loudest voice was, let's go be the next Frank Gore.
Yeah. Let's do it.
Let's be the NFL rusher. And I was holding on to that
Yeah.
for sure.
Did you speak with him? Did he reach out to you?
Absolutely.
Did he? Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, after the first injury, I heard from, everybody who's famous from having a torn ACL or having a catastrophic knee injury. I mean, I
Mm-hmm.
heard from Willis McGahee as well.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Frank Gore. And then I get to, my when I get to San Francisco, my locker is right beside Frank Gore's, the guy,
Sure.
the reason that I wore number 21, him and
Yeah.
LaDainian Tomlinson.
Yeah.
So I mean, it was kind of surreal in that moment.
Very
And it's
surreal.
like, yeah, I'm gonna do this,
Yeah.
and because I can't let him down.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah, to kind of go back to your kind of hang your hat on everyone else's, positivity and encouragement. Like that's probably a huge part of that.
absolutely. That was it. Like,
Yeah,
if he believes in me, well, of course it can happen.
absolutely. So you get there. What was that conversation like with Harbaugh, and then kind of, I guess, talk through like that first. I mean, you were there. You get through that first 2013. Was it 2013? Correct.
Yes.
You're just rehabbing. Maybe talk through that first, maybe 12 months you were there, and then maybe into like OTAs in that 2014 season, and kind of how you were feeling throughout that time.
Well, Mark, I first have to say I really couldn't ask for a better organization to go to
Yeah.
because from that summer of 2013 until 2014 OTAs, it was like a revolving door of free agents and people getting cut and people on IR and people retiring. I saw so many people leave that building,
Sure.
and I was the one. I was. They said I was here. I'm here for the long haul. That was the first conversation Coach Harbaugh had with me. He said 2013 is going to be your redshirt year,
Mm-hmm.
so you don't have to worry about anything else but rehabbing your knee. So there was no fear in my mind that I would be cut
Yeah.
or not a part of the team in 2014.
Yeah.
And I attacked that rehab harder than I have done anything in my life. Um, and it was pretty simple, you
Mm-hmm.
know, get stronger, get faster, start your agility and get to a place where you feel comfortable. And, with heck, 18 months ahead of me, I was just like,
Yeah.
of course, of course that's going to be, I'll be ready by next year.
Yeah.
Um,
Did you get into a decent amount of contact?
in 2014,
Yeah.
when we got into training camp, I put pads on. I put I put I put all the equipment on, and I took some hits.
Okay.
I
Okay.
took some hits. I still had my knee brace on.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, so I took some hits, but nothing where I was down on the ground.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah,
So
just the general basic going through some progressions of contact training.
yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
it was one of those practices, one of those Thursday practices where
Got
everybody
it.
stays up.
Got it.
Thursday, Friday practices, everybody stays up. Nobody's on the ground. I took some hits, and yeah, felt pretty good after
Yeah.
that. But it's just that the the reality of it's starting to creep in.
Just starting to creep in a little bit.
Yeah,
Yeah, with the progression into some light contact and then maybe leading up to the point where, you have that first conversation with Harbaugh about, I think this is it. What was that like mindset trickling into the culmination of all those things leading up to that conversation with him? Was it purely just pain, or did you feel like your movement just wasn't the same? Kind of break that down a little bit, maybe even the psychology of what you're feeling too.
yeah. So I still, at that time, I was 23 years old.
Yeah,
23, you know, about to turn 24. And I still really just didn't have the ability to articulate my emotions
fair enough.
at all. And I come where I come from. At 7 years old, it's just like this football proverb. It's
Yeah,
just there's a difference between being injured and hurt.
yeah.
Um, Hurt you can play through.
Mm-hmm.
So we learn that's we're indoctrinated into that mindset at a very young age that you don't show signs of weakness.
Right,
You push
right.
through until there was a point in my life, honestly, where I could honestly say I would die on a football field.
Yeah,
Before I gave up.
sure.
That just wasn't in my head. So um
So you were holding on to that quite a bit.
oh man, I'm holding on to all the truth. I've been holding on to the truth of how I felt since the Tennessee game.
Yeah,
Because expressing that would mean would show expressing that would show the truth.
right.
Is
And
that I
probably
don't,
maybe, yeah, expressing failure maybe a little bit.
yeah, failure, and like that means I have to hang up the helmet if
Mm-hmm.
I say that out loud.
Right.
So I repressed all of my emotions
Yeah.
until I couldn't repress it anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And that came sometime in August of 2014. I was going through agility drills with our assistant strength coach for the 49ers.
Mm-hmm.
It was just a 20-yard agility drill where we just go zigzag.
Sure.
And I'm going hard. Like I'm going hard. It's all pain. I mean, it's like somebody jabbing the ice pick for the past 2, 3 months in my knee. But I'm cutting, cutting,
Mm-hmm.
cutting. And then I heard something in my right knee. In that knee. It didn't sound like a ligament, but it that when I cut and I planted on that right knee, I heard it and I felt it. I could still walk, but it was that point I was just like, man, I can't do this no more.
Yeah.
I can't do this no more. And I had gotten to a point where I was taking I was taking Tylenol. I was taking I had some leftover oxycodone
Mm-hmm.
pills, half pills, just to get through a workout.
Mm-hmm.
And, of course I maxed that. Of course I'm not going to tell anybody that.
Sure.
Um, so yeah, that day, it was just like I went home and my sister is living with me at the time. And I'm just sitting on the floor in the middle of the living room with ice on my right knee. And she looks at me, I look at her, and she knew. She knew
Yeah.
it was too much.
That
It was too much. And I still couldn't say it out loud. That's the whole
yeah.
thing. I
Sure.
still couldn't verbalize
It was
that I've
nonverbal.
been in pain this long.
Yeah. Yeah. What was the next step with that?
The next step,
Having that conversation with
our
Harbaugh.
head athletic trainer,
Okay. Okay.
and his name was Jeff Ferguson,
Okay.
who was the most kind, compassionate, good old country boy that you'll ever meet in your life. And man, I went up there and he had a smile on his face the entire time. The entire time that I was telling him, just there was something about him, I guess, just being in that um, high stakes job,
Yeah.
that just zen him out. He knew that
Sure.
just being calm would probably be the best approach, and he was always like that.
Mm-hmm.
But um, he looked at me and he was just like, Marcus, it's okay.
Yeah.
You know, I couldn't even ask for a better response.
Sure.
He was just like, it's okay. And then he called Coach Harbaugh on the phone. It was after hours, after practice, so he was just up in his office. We walked up to the office.
Mm-hmm.
Coach Harbaugh and Trent Baalke, the general manager at the time, all four of us are sitting right there. And it's the first time in my life I'm saying that
Out loud.
out loud that
Yeah.
I can't do this anymore.
Mm-hmm. Was that
I'm
freeing for you?
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. And I think a lot of it was just fear. And
Yeah.
Mark, I was letting them down. I was letting my teammates down. I was letting 4.8 million people in the state of South Carolina down.
Absolutely.
So that pressure to be the comeback story of the year,
Yeah.
really wanted that reality to happen.
Yep. To come into fruition.
Yeah. So, but their response was, I mean, Marcus, we knew when we drafted you that there was a possibility
Yeah.
you may not recover.
Yeah.
But, they said something along the lines of, we drafted the person.
Sure.
And, I'm just like, man, how could I even ask for
Yeah. That's unbelievable.
a better response than that?
Yeah. That's unbelievable. So
And,
kind of.
they offer me if you want to start your coaching career here, you can start your coaching career here. If you want to start your scouting career, you
Yeah.
can start your career. I'm just like, man, come on.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Incredible. Go through go through the process. I'll kind of speed forward just a little bit. So, you retire, maybe talk through those first few years back in that you went back to South Carolina
Yeah.
and just maybe give me a little bit better idea of kind of where your mind was with that because obviously football was your life. It was that was
Yeah.
everything to you and maybe kind of talk through like what those first few years felt like for you and then what kind of led you up to the point where you kind of felt like you had to get out of there.
Well, because of what we were able to accomplish as a team at
Hmm.
the University of South Carolina and what I accomplished individually, I still had this status, this public status
Yeah.
of a superhero and
Hmm.
just somebody who is worthy to be praised everywhere I went.
Sure.
But I don't have that ability anymore. I don't
Yeah.
have
So
my
there
athletic
was a
ability
gap
anymore.
between what you felt and what people saw.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I'm still treated as if I'm on the field.
Hmm.
I'm treated as who at that time was our quarterback. At that time, when I went back, I mean, we had a pretty good team, but I was just a part of the team.
Yeah.
Like I mean, if anything, the notoriety and attention went up when I went
Sure.
back to South
Yeah.
Carolina.
Sure.
It's a small state,
Yep.
so everywhere I go, I'm back in class, so I went back to school to complete my degree. I'm back in class and everybody knows who I am.
Yep.
Um, I go to the grocery store, um, I go out to eat. It's the same as if I was in school,
Yeah.
or as if I was playing.
Yeah.
And that reality became smothering for me.
Sure.
Because I wasn't number 21 anymore, but I was still being treated as if I was number 21. And
Hmm.
here's the thing, I I get it. Like I was around someone I admire maybe 2 months ago here in Portland, and I was so caught up in their mystique that I
Yeah.
couldn't even see them for who they were.
Sure. Interesting.
So
Yeah.
I've experienced that like in the world of theater, like being here in Portland. Like I
Yep.
was with this particular person and I'm caught up in it. So now I see how they saw me.
Yeah. In full
And
circle
that,
almost.
yeah, and that
Interesting.
became, I didn't know how to move. I didn't know what to do.
Did you have an outlet that kind of got you to that realization point that this might be something to maybe move on from?
So, Mark, this was around the time I started to self reflect.
Okay.
I was never a reader, never really enjoyed school or education, never saw the value in
Yeah.
education
Yeah.
because I
The
we
football.
didn't really have to. Um,
Hmm.
and we really weren't pushed to be academics and more than something other than what you do on the field.
Yeah.
Um, but I picked up this book by Robert Greene called The Laws of Human Nature.
Okay.
And it started, and there was a chapter on confronting your dark side
Hmm.
and explaining like we all have a shadow.
Hmm.
And, you know, I started reading and I just started writing more. I just started taking notes on this book.
Yeah.
Why I picked that book up, I don't know.
Yeah. And that kind of
Um,
helped you start,
just
putting
look
your
inside.
thoughts down on pad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just started as more like confessions
Yeah. Absolutely. That's a good way to put it.
and journals and just like sharing what was on my heart.
Yep.
There was no objective to what I was doing, but I was learning a lot about myself reading this book. It was like looking
Hmm.
at a mirror when I was reading this book, and I was like, I can't believe it was almost as if when I was reading that book, he was looking inside of me.
Cool.
And I was just like, oh, okay, there's something to this.
Yeah.
And I just started being honest with myself.
Yeah. Very cool.
And that's it, like kicked off this like I feel lost.
Yep.
I feel purpose. I feel no purpose. I
Yep.
feel,
Yeah. Meaningless a little bit.
yeah, a little bit of meaninglessness.
Yeah.
And I don't know what to do. Now, though,
Hmm.
now saying that out loud was a little bit scary, but it also like started that path.
Yep.
It like voicing it started the path to figure out what was
Yep.
next.
You start thinking about more things and
Yeah.
contemplating. Yeah. Absolutely.
So it started to free. That's, I realized writing was freeing me a little bit.
Yeah.
And
Do you journal every day?
every day,
Yeah. Cool.
every day I try to like just what big emotions happened today that could
Yep.
potentially leak out and project onto other people. Like
Right.
that's the big thing that journaling helps me with, like making sure that I'm not projecting my emotions onto others.
Sure. Sure.
So that's it started then.
Yep.
And I realized I was being inducted into the University of South Carolina Hall of Fame in 2019. And I was happy, but I was also sad.
Hmm.
I was also
Mixed
sad.
emotions with that.
Yeah, like there was conflicting and contradicting emotions happening all at once. Like,
Hmm.
yeah, this is a great honor, but I'm not happy with where I am in my life.
Yeah. It's a that's an interesting dynamic, isn't it?
It's almost like, am I crazy?
Right.
That am I because I'm feeling both of these emotions at the same time. It's time to change your environment.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
changing my environment meant moving away
Yep.
from what everything that I've known my whole life.
Yeah.
Uh, that was scary.
That's unbelievable change.
Yeah, yeah, that comfortable feeling, that familiarness,
Yeah.
like that familiarity. Everything about it had to change
Yep.
if I was going to.
Flourish.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the word I was looking for.
Yeah.
And
Very.
you know,
That's
like,
scary.
yeah, yeah,
I got a couple more questions for you. First, I want to ask you if there's anything that you would, just for some of the listeners out there who may be going through ACL reconstruction and the hardship and the grueling rehab and all those things, is there anything you would, that you learned throughout your process? And obviously yours is drastically, more, emphasized than others. But is there anything that, piece of advice that you would give those, high school, college, professional athletes going through something similar?
yes. But I will say, Mark, during those moments, those fearful moments where you don't know what's next,
Yeah,
and sometimes words don't help,
sure.
or they can't like really wrap up. Sometimes you just need a calm, safe, loving presence
Yep.
beside you
Mm-hmm.
to help hold you through this. But if I did say something, it would just I would just remind them that their sport is a vessel. Their sport is a medium.
Great. Great point.
Their sport is a medium for them to share their uniqueness.
Yep.
And you were never your sport.
Right.
You were never the hmm, the medium will always change
Right.
when you change and when things change. Like you were never a sport in the beginning, although
Yeah.
it feels like everything in the moment.
And that's your identity.
So Yeah.
Yeah,
So, Mark, I think I would just affirm their humanity first,
yeah, I like that.
affirm them as a human being first, and remind them that you were never a sport.
Yeah.
You were this sport that you play was a medium that you use to share your uniqueness and share your gifts and your skills.
Hmm. Hmm.
Now if that changes, you still have your uniqueness.
Hmm. Yeah,
Um,
I love that. I love that. That's a
yeah,
great point because a lot of people kind of stick with what their identity is, with what got them to where they are, and if they lose that, then it's you know purposeless. What's
right.
next, right?
Which is what I felt.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
and I felt that way because I forgot that I was never a sport.
Hmm.
I've always been Marcus,
Hmm.
and Marcus played football, but now Marcus is a writer.
Yeah.
It was just the medium.
Are you at peace with football?
Man, I love watching the game now, Mark.
Yeah.
I cou- I I couldn't watch it. I couldn't say that 2 years ago.
Okay.
2 years ago, I mean, I held on to so much envy. Like there would be guys playing in the NFL
Yeah.
that I played against and
Yeah.
dominated. Like I ran this dude over, and I was
Right.
just like, man, this dude's in the this
I
dude's
get
in the
it. I get
league.
it. Absolutely.
So much envy.
That's probably impossible not to think about.
Oh my goodness.
If there's uh if there's one thing you want to be, I'll finish up with this one. If there's one thing you want to be remembered by as a person, put football aside, what would that be?
He was a model of courage.
Yeah.
He he modeled courage.
Yeah.
I think that's it. I mean, like if we're talking Tombstone,
Yeah.
yeah,
I love that. I love that. This was incredible, Marcus. I appreciate you so much coming on and talking about this. I think it's your journey and story is beyond football, and I think it's beyond what we even see from like the medical community. I love hearing stories like this, and for you to kind of that growth period from when you were 23 up to now, that period of time where you kind of figured out who am I. And I think that's the most important part of all these things, and I think that's something that is I think needs to be shared more. So i I appreciate you coming on. It's such a privilege talking to you.
Mark. Well, Mark, I got to say, man, I get so many messages on Instagram from young girls who play soccer or
Cool.
that tore their ACL, or a UCLA football player that tore his ACL, or my mom's going through knee replacement, my stepdad went through knee replacement. You know, I've had so many, I've been able to impact so many demographics,
Hmm.
but because of this injury, and for you to do this podcast, I mean, it's just, I don't know. I think it's a very underserved
Absolutely.
um, population of people, but
Hmm.
it is so common.
Hmm.
It's so common. I've learned just from you know the messages that I receive from females, males of all walks of life, all ages. So
Hmm.
thank you for doing this podcast.